Hello and welcome back to Weeknight Hero. As always, I'm your GM, Evan. If you thought I was done with Road to Character Creation, you're wrong, because I have plenty more videos planned to discuss Mutants and Masterminds and several aspects of the game. This one's going to be a short video. It's just going to be on equipment. I know several different people had asked this question about equipment, how it works and what applies, so I thought I'd make a video describing it. Equipment are gadgets or weapons held on hand by players that can be bought with the equipment advantage using equipment points. So any character can get the equipment advantage, and that gives them 5 equipment points to spend on gadgets, weapons, vehicles, and even headquarters. So very often equipment points get delegated to like a single character, or they're shared amongst characters so that you can generally build up your superhero universe. Now, the things that you buy with equipment are essentially used the same way and bought the same way that you would get skills, advantages, and powers, except that you're instead basing it off of the equipment points rather than the power points. The reason for that is there are several drawbacks, which I'll discuss a little bit later. But in essence, equipment can be used to simulate an ability, a skill, an advantage, or a power. So the main difference between having something bought with equipment points versus power points are that it's an item that is not attached to the character in any sort of way. So it can be disarmed, it can be transformed, and it can be destroyed or smashed. So while typically these maneuvers and actions can remove an item or a piece of equipment from play entirely. So that's one big thing to keep in mind. The next one is that equipment can be used with extra effort, unlike something that's bought with power points. However, when you use it with extra effort, it either damages, leaves it inoperable, or in some other way prevents you from using it until either a certain amount of time has passed for the GM or it is fixed. Ergo, if you had a piece of equipment that is a range damage 3
weapon,
something that would be equivalent to like a gun or a pistol, and a range damage 3 power, which is something like firing a laser beam from your eyes, you can use extra effort or create power stunts with that power. But with equipment, whatever way that you're improvising or altering the gun in order to perform this action now damages it in some way. So we can even say, if you wanted to do a multi-attack pistol hit and it doesn't come with that kind of mode on it, you are firing it so many times that it jams, and it will take you getting out of combat and some time in order to unjam it or fix it. So generally, as long as you're fine with spending fewer power points for far less utility with extra effort, I would recommend it being used as a piece of equipment. Now, another big thing that separates a power with the removable trait and a piece of equipment is sometimes a little more of a nuanced one. So a power with the removable drawback means that somehow that power can be taken away from you by performing a certain action in combat naturally, either the removable or the easily removable drawback. So those are some ways that you can save points on a specific power, and the difference between it can sometimes be nuanced. Now, there's a couple of different types of equipment. What we're looking at here are your sort of general items, kind of the average things that would be in your bag in like a Dungeons and Dragons, or maybe like a Star Wars setting where it's like you have a gun, you have a sword. So those things are meant to simulate realistic weapons, and I know a lot of them are noted in the gadget guides, but those are just general weapons and items that mimic something that exists in our average everyday life. The next thing I like to call tools, and that's generally a 1 equipment point feature, 1 object that traditionally is just used to count as the right tools for the right job. So something like a first aid kit, a computer that you can use to hack devices, a crime scene investigation kit are all things that fall under the tools range and are things that allow you to use your skills in an appropriate way by preventing them from gaining penalties. Next one is gadgets, and that's just what I like to call anything that can simulate a super heroic power. So you can create a mind control gadget, you can create a teleport gadget, and they are often very costly with equipment points, but you can use those to generally simulate a super heroic power. Next is vehicles, and vehicles are exactly what they sound like. It's any kind of ordinary or mundane object like an airplane, a boat, a train, or it can be something super heroic like a giant robot or a car that travels through time. And finally, equipment points can be used to buy headquarters. Headquarters are big for superheroes to use in their downtime. Traditionally, they're facilities that benefit characters and what they do, or it provides a place for them to perform inventing checks, ritual checks, training, combat simulations, any kind of a thing. A lot of the times it's used for flavor, and it oftentimes doesn't become a huge part to a story, and that's why you can buy them for relatively cheaply with maybe one or two ranks in the equipment advantage. But if your secret base or headquarters is more of like a flavor text kind of a thing and more of a setting rather than an actual point of conflict in a Mutants and Masterminds setting, feel free to omit it and just say that they have a super base. But that wraps it up for the equipment video. Thank you so much for listening, and stay tuned for my next big How to Play Mutants and Masterminds playlist, which is going to be all about combat. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and leave any questions in the video so we can discuss them. As always, I've been your GM, Evan. See you guys later.